I have legs. It's amazing. What do I do with legs? How was everyone's Thanksgiving? Was it good?
I love it.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I just popped up the Twitch. I love it.
You see me now? You see me now? Look, I'm bobbing my head. I'm
Are you
doing
that short in real life?
doing the Stevie Wonder thing. I am pretty short. I'm Asian, dude. I'm
Oh
short.
Jesus. Ah, that's racist.
I can say Asians are short because I'm Chinese. So all right. Let's see. Getting into the Twitch room here so I can read Twitch chat. Pardon me. After a long Thanksgiving weekend, you just get so like discombobulated with your daily routines. Plus, we're doing this on a Monday, so that's like different for us. So I'm just taking a little bit of extra time here to get set up. There we go. Stream manager. Hey, now I can see people in Twitch chat. That's amazing. That's wonderful. All right, get some power. Always have to have more power. More power. Man, I miss Home Improvement and Tim Allen. I'll tell you that. So what you have here? Oh yeah. Oh, well, if you haven't seen what's on screen before, I kind of have it blocked here. Let me see if I can unblock it. If you haven't seen these models before, these are not textured, right? These are just the sculpts in clay, and these are part of the art revamp that we've been doing for a while now. And these are the new Tihu knee biters, which are cubes currently in the game. And we thought, as awesome as cubes are, that maybe you guys would want something a little more representational of the fantasy of the universe. And so we created the knee biter sculpts, and they are also animated. So we got those animated, and once we get Ricardo settled down in his new country, we can start experimenting with a new animation system for those that will hopefully enable us to have quite a few of them on the screen, more than there are now. Right now in the build, there are 5 that come with each wave. I would like to see it more like 30 per wave, and I'd like to see them pop like popcorn. And I talked about this before, but I mentioned how in Firefall, when you shoot Aranas, I always hated how the new user experience is really important, right? And when new users would come in, this is like the first creature they would fight, not these guys, but the Aranas in Firefall. And if they were using the assault rifle, because a lot of newcomers aren't used to the plasma rifle or anything else, and they want to try something more familiar to a first-person shooter, it would take a clip and a half to kill an Arana. And so, that makes the guns feel weak, right? Like if it takes a clip and a half to shoot the little guy, you're feeling like the guns are kind of anemic in the game, and you don't want that in a shooter. You want the guns to feel powerful. So, the idea is that if we can render more of these guys, we can also lower their hit points, and we can have them pop much more satisfyingly as they swarm. And the intent was always to have kind of a Starship Troopers moment in Firefall with these things, and we were never able to quite get that. But hopefully, with some experiments here, we'll see if we can get the count up and we can get that real swarm-like feeling of these guys as they crawl across the terrain and up sheer cliffs and hop onto your thumper. Yeah, they'll slow your thumper down too. The idea is that these guys will hop onto your thumper and start tearing cables out of the thing and armor plates, and you guys will have to like shoot them off the thumper. Yeah, shoot them off the thumper in order to get them going again, because the thumper will stop mining, and you don't want that. You can ask questions in Discord and Twitch. I am watching both, so I'll go ahead and we'll do it related to the whatever we're talking about now. So if you have questions about thumping or the Tihu knee biters, I'll take a question now. We can just make this a Q&A today with some raffles. Oh, Captain Knuckles says minus the knee pads and leg straps. It looks like something I'd wear. Chibi Grums has good fashion taste. Well, I didn't dress me. Dita 40K dressed me. Or Dita 4. I keep saying Dita 40K. I think it's Dita 40K. I don't think he's a 40K player. Oh, can we name the knee biters yet? And I see that what you did there, Nordum. You snuck in your own name suggestion, right? The Kavarthi. Kavarthi's pretty cool. I like that. That's on the forum thread. I'm not sure what the link is, but maybe the moderators could post a name suggestion link. I haven't gone over them yet, but I'm looking for the community to give them a nickname. Let's see who have a nickname. They've been nicknamed Shifters. You know, we're looking for a nickname for the knee biters, too. That's not knee biters, because I made that up and I don't like it. There you go. That's the thread in Discord. Thank you very much. Yeah, the name of the humanoid one is the alien race is called Tsihu, and the alien humanoids are called shifters because they shapeshift. They shapeshift into a beast mode, which we haven't. I mean, we've shown you the old model for it, and we actually did some prototype sculpts of the new model, which turned out really cool. But unfortunately, I'm not sure how to animate them because they have certain features. They have like these long flowing ribbon like things off of them that I don't think would translate very well into the game. And it, you know, I don't see a good way to animate them yet. Maybe we can use particles to do it. Maybe we can use something other than traditional methods that are costly on the CPU. But we just don't know yet. So I've been holding off on finishing that model. It's not finished yet. We had many prototype sculpts of the new beast mode that fits this theme, right? Because part of when we did the art pass, part of what we did is we redid the theme of the Tsihu to be less robotic. If you remember, in the older builds and in the current build, they kind of look robotic. And I said, listen, what we wanted to do was to make them sort of like the antithesis of what the you know, what the humans are. The humans are mechanized. The humans are piloting mechs and other mech-like vehicles, and they have use a lot of technology to overcome the harshness of the planet. And I wanted to contrast that with something that was more like biotech, right? Something that was more, you know, tribal looking almost. Like they had a different evolution of technology. They still use technology, but it's sort of like, you know, they harness these minerals and crystals that are all over their planet, right? And that's a nod to Firefall, right? Firefall had crystite for the humans, which powered everything, powered their power armor, powered their, you know, their buildings, and it was their source of power. But the Tsihu they get their power from various crystals, and they are able to use these crystals and attune them with technology. There is technology involved in order to achieve different effects and ends. So that is the theme I wanted for them. And when we did the art pass, I said, okay, let's get rid of the robotic stuff. Let's keep their basic design, because I think everybody likes the basic design, and let's keep it as close as possible so we could actually reuse as much as we could from the older models. And so the Tsihu actually are, I want to say that we actually preserved their low poly. We just did the high poly, but the knee biters were new. We didn't talk about the knee biters. The knee biters are actually an additional thing that we kind of snuck in there. Remember that the original playable mock-up demo that we're working on is only supposed to feature the Tsihu humanoid shapeshifting into beast mode, if you recall. But I felt that wasn't going to do enough to make the encounter interesting. We needed our version of the Arana. We needed the cannon fodder, because the Tsihu are complex models and we can't render more than a couple of them at a time. And I wanted something that was very satisfying, that moved in swarms that you could pop. And one of my favorite moments, and this is obviously a nod to the Flood in Halo a little bit, like I really like that, and also to Deep Rock Galactic, the swarms that appear there. Excuse me, I'm going to take a drink. Yeah, so I really like Deep Rock Galactic. I haven't played the last update yet, but I wanted more of that swarm feeling, and so that's what this is about. So this is a third creature that was not originally spec'd in the playable mockup that I think is essential to the encounter. So this is being rendered, by the way, in Unreal 5, and these aren't the I don't want to say these are the game ready models, right? Because what you see are the high res models that are just straight imported into Unreal. No normal maps or anything like that. And then, of course, once we move to texturing stage, we have the low poly done for these guys, and they've been animated too. And so we will switch to normal maps, which actually hold up quite well. You're not going to see too much of a difference here when we switch to normal maps. Lower resolution, that's about it. And the terrain they're standing on, that little rock in the video, is actually a piece of nanite rock in Unreal 5. And for those of you who've been following all of our experiments with Unreal 5, we went down a path where we really sort of exercised nanite, which is a way to render just as many polygons as you like. I apologize for the noise outside. I don't know if you can hear that, but those are metal saws. Someone ran. I live in a gated community, and someone rammed through the gates last night. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I didn't hear anything. I didn't wake up, but when I went outside, the gate is off its tracks because we're right by the entrance, right? The gate is off its tracks, and a piece of metal is just sheared upwards. And I'm like, what would cause that? This isn't a crowbar. This isn't somebody just lifting the gate off its tracks or anything. But then why didn't we hear anything? And then the other strange thing for you guys who like mysteries, right? I love a good mystery or conspiracy theory. I'm always disappointed when they turn out to be easily explainable, which they always are. But there's no paint scrapes that I can see on it. I got all CSI. I was like, okay, we need paint chip analysis on this game. I didn't see any paint chips, and so I'm like, maybe it was a kaiju. A kaiju came through and bent the gate, came into this. But it is wild, dude. I don't know about you guys. All right, this is a casual chat. I might as well go on a tangent here, but we've had we're in the suburbs, right? The suburbs of Orange County, California, and there have been more armed robberies here than I remember ever in the past 15 years of living here. My wife was saying that there was I guess a makeup store called Sephora, which was right next to Whole Foods here, and two women ran in and held them up with guns and stole all the makeup. It was really weird. That never happens here. And then we had a big restaurant by one of the most profitable malls in America is located here, and there's a big fancy restaurant next to it, and a bunch of armed robbers ran into the balcony, and they held all the restaurant goers and demanded all their valuables, and I was like, wow, this never happens here. What's going on? So anyways, I hear that that crime seems to be on the uptick everywhere, and I don't know if it is for you guys, but be careful out there. All right, that's just the moral of the story. It's like times they are changing, and take precautions, and if they want your watch, nobody wears watches anymore. If they want your wallet, give them your wallet. It's just not worth it, right? All right. Well, okay, so. This isn't a this is a casual cheap chat. We're just talking about Em8er and other topics as we come up. On screen, I've got the Tsihu, which are the enemies. Harry's been continuing to work on their animations. I've been working on the Em8er this morning. And we have, Harry found 2 issues with 2 of the animations, and I'm looking at that now. But we're also working on the human-female animations. There are a bunch. You guys think that a walk cycle in a game would be simple, right? Like all you have to do is just animate them walking, but you gotta do you gotta do 9 directions of walk. You have to do runs, you have to do strafes, you have to do start stops for them, and quickly you're up to 30, 40 animations just to get the character to move around. For those of you who've never done game development before, character locomotion, getting them to move around the screen, actually takes up a huge amount of dev effort. Ubisoft, when they do a high-end AAA system like that, they'll have a whole team working for 6 months on the main character locomotion. And these are, and a whole team, I mean 30 people. So it's
Yeah, they know what they are doing.
And they know what they're doing. And it still takes them 6 months. So that's it's not a mocap. I mean, you can sit here and mocap it. That's fine. It's programming all the logic for it and then fine-tuning the animations. They blend together and everything else. And then the moveset. And as soon as you add a moveset for a character, it gets extremely complicated, right? Oh, they can vault. And now they can climb cliffs. And now they can, jetpack and glide and all these things. It's like this is where a bulk in an action game, this is where a bulk of the development happens. It's kind of crazy. Like, the other stuff is kind of cookie cutter. Like, oh, you want crafting. Okay, that's more straightforward in some ways and takes a less development time in some ways. More balance time. Definitely more, game balance time. Well, but it's just shocking how much to get some characters moving on the screen, how long it takes. And I don't think I had a full appreciation of that until Firefall, where I remember we were looking at, this is before there were any sort of like tools to help you. There were no, animation systems to go between the different states, like run, walk, and attack. You can set up these sort of like nodes and arrows between them, which is sort of like a blend space structure. Yeah, there's that saw again. They're fixing that gate that the kaiju busted through. Where's my OmniFrame army when I needed it? Oh, speaking of which, I'll just completely change the subject again. You guys want to see what else Dita4OK did? All right. This is not my final form. You ready for this? You gotta be watching on Twitch for this. All right, here we go. Aha! I have an OmniFrame. This is of course, the old light frame design, the original one. It's still great in a lot of ways, but I wanted something that was closer to Firefall, and so, but we have immortalized it, or Dita4OK has immortalized it here, and that I am now wearing an OmniFrame Light.
That is fantastic. That is amazing. Look at the detail and the colors. Damn. All right.
Yeah, he basically took Tommaso's art and like completely adapted it and rigged it for VTuber animation. If they were gate striders, they would have known how to properly pass through a gate. That's funny, Giga. Way to get the lore in there. I had to change the lore of the D gates. For those of you who don't know, in the Gate Strider universe, fast and light travel happens through what are called D gates, D-gates, and everyone. And originally there were going to be these sort of things that you sort of like a Stargate, like a ring-like structure that you fly your spaceship through. But someone pointed out very rightly after reading the book that there's no way that the home space station could fit through such a ring. The ring would have to be enormous size. And so now I'm thinking of D-gates more as a conceptual thing where there is a big bang. I guess, did someone drop an iron gate out there? I don't know.
Get a gun.
Grab a gun. We're having an armed invasion here. I'll just hit him with my keyboard. This is a metal keyboard, a Logitech keyboard, so that'll do it. Wow, I totally lost my train of thought there. Okay, so yeah, the D-gates. The D-gates are now going to be more like they are and if you remember, like Babylon 5 or something, where they're like standing pylons or things like this, and they create a anomaly next to them. And so that anomaly can be of the size, whatever size is necessary for the vessel that's passing through. So I think that's how we're going to retcon that lore to fix that up. All right. Well, we're not done yet. We're not done with the VTuber yet. So Dita4OK not only gave me an OmniFrame, he decided that the OmniFrame, of course, has to have jets. I'm jetpacking. Can you see it? The little glow behind me? I'll turn it off and on. There it is. It's on. I'm flying. I'm flying. There it is. That's off. And we can't just do that. We gotta glide too. I got glider wings, baby. They open and close. How cool is that?
What the heck?
Yep.
Man.
And the
See-
and it's accurate too. The jets turn off when you glide. Why, because it's not powered flight.
That's cool.
All right. And then there's one final one. When I'm ready, when sometimes I go on rants on these streams, right? When I'm ready to rant, when some game company does something that makes me mad, makes me real mad, then I'll do this. Power fist, baby. Give him a power fist. Maybe he does play 40K. Maybe it is and maybe it is D to 40K because that's a very power fisty thing. That's a very 40K thing. The rants are the best. I feel bad about the rants, man. I don't want to sit here ranting all this time. You guys,
The avatar isn't rigged like the whole skeleton, right? It's just rigged to the face, so you can wave your arms around and they won't.
This is true. I have no hand motions. Remember, this started as a lark, Harry. We weren't really trying to make VTubers. This was just kind of like a, everyone's hopping on the VTuber bandwagon. Let's just make one as a joke.
Yeah, everyone's critic.
So we didn't choose like software that allows you to animate arms or anything. I think this is purely like a face rig type of thing. And we've got a weird thing where I can wiggle my eyebrows like this up and down, but I can't do it independently, and we're still debugging that. So, but I wanted to thank Dita for making this. He just did it as a surprise, and it was a gift, and it was like, oh wow, holy crap, that's awesome, thank you so much. We have the best community here, like it's just amazing. I don't know if you've seen the stickers in Discord. Faye, how about we show some of the stickers here? And I don't know who worked on which stickers, but if we could like give them a shout out, that would be cool. And again, it's all just community driven. The kaiju eye. Yeah, look at there it is up on the Discord screen. Darla, that's Ronin's favorite.
The best one.
OPAI.
That's Faye's favorite, but she's biased because she's an AI too.
Yeah, they stick together, don't they?
That's right.
The Hologram Club. It's like the Breakfast Club, but your holograms. Yeah, just so many. Check them out. If you join our Discord server, you get access. Anybody joining the server gets access to these, right? They don't have to boost it or anything like that.
Yeah, should be access to everybody.
Oh, we got Crotus. We got mini Crotus. Oh, okay. So I need to explain one thing. I did a switch of priorities, and I'm just going to tell you what it is, because you know that we were going to do mechs, right? But I thought that I wanted to do a little revamp of the webpage, and I wanted to do something that we haven't done before. So actually, we're making Crotus right now, the Crotus armor set, and we're going to be taking Crotus to a level completion. So that's been the current priority. So frames have been put off for a little bit because we have a frame in the game, and I want something. These renders that we're doing with the Tsihu and everything, they're gonna eventually be going up on the new website. There will be a website refresh. Right now, it's very it's like a one pager, right? And it's very waifu focused and stuff. And it's time to bring in the main themes of the game, mech versus kaiju. And so I wanted, and there have been other mech games, but there really haven't been a lot of kaiju games. And so I thought, let's make the kaiju the focus here, and let's get that going, where we can get some good beauty renders of it and use that for the website. Mark, you're asking no source code leak in response to Shelly's comment. I'm not quite sure.
For Firefall.
I don't think the source code ever leaked for Firefall. But I know that there's some people working on, a viewer for it. And I haven't tried it lately. I haven't seen their progress. There is a thing. Yeah, I don't know where to get it. Context. I was asking about how to play Firefall to know what to expect from this game. Mark, there is no way to play Firefall, unfortunately. There is a viewer where you can see the zones, but the zones kind of breaks my heart. Like, you can, even if you went in and saw them now, it's not really as intended. Firefall had, the idea was to have big zones that weren't level specific, and you could sort of like go anywhere in the world, and the encounters would scale to you. But the problem with the viewer is showing the latest version after I left and they made all the changes, and they took this one zone, the starting zone, and they carved it up because they wanted to make a level-based shooter instead of like this sort of like open world thing. And they took one zone and they made it like 10 zones. And they started putting levels on it. This is level 1 through 5. This is level 5 through 10. This is level 10 through 15. And the zone wasn't big enough to do that. And so it was a big zone. They could carve it up. But after they carved it up, then they had to put in content. And then they went with static content, right? Firefall it's never meant to be about static content. It's meant to be a dynamic world with dynamic events happening. And so they had to stick in all these locations on the map for these static quests. And so you walk in and it just feels like random crap littered over and shoved into each and every zone. It's just overcrowded with these locations because they're trying to get you to level through them. It just destroyed that open world feeling of the game. And I don't know why they did that, or what. Well, I know why. The whole reason, of course, is they wanted WoW with guns, and I wanted a completely different game. and so they tried to retrofit WoW into the existing framework, which I could tell you was not a good idea. It did not work out very well, unfortunately. I would have liked to see the game continue. We worked really hard in that game. If they had found a way to make it work, more power to them. But they didn't. And every change they did, and they made some drastic changes. They took out thumping. They took out all sorts of things that were core to the original game. And that's why we're here. That's why we're here with Em8er, because you guys want that back. So. Sorry, am I depressing you? Demetrius says, great, driving me to drink, crumbs. It's like, well, it's the holidays. You're supposed to be depressed, right? WoW with Guns was WildStar, and it was okay, but it died. WildStar was an interesting game. I wanted to get into that. I didn't have time to play it, but it looked really, really well polished and put together. Not sure why it died. I wasn't a big player for that.
Grums, did you know I almost worked on WildStar?
Really?
Yeah, I was going to move to California to work on it, and I'm glad I didn't, because that would not have gone well since the game shut down.
Wow, that's awesome.
Nothing's worth moving to California for.
Well, I'm from California, so.
Oh, right. Condolences.
It's not really a big deal, so yeah. But I almost did it, so that's pretty wild.
Well, you would have been neighbors because we were right next door. Their offices were right next door to Red 5's for a while.
Yeah.
And I maintained a personal office there for a while back before when that sort of stuff made sense. Nobody does that now. Everyone's just works in their pajamas. Thanks to COVID.
Yeah, it's really funny because literally the only reason I didn't is because I just couldn't commit to the move. And for a while, I regretted that. And then the game shut down. I'm like, oh, God, okay. Yeah.
You made the right decision. Like, how long was it till they shut down after you got the offer?
Oh, I'm trying to remember because it was still relatively early. The game hadn't even launched yet when I was talking to them about it.
Oh, okay.
But I couldn't tell if it was stable. To be honest with you, I'm like, you guys have something here, but I can't tell.
Did you meet any of the my old cohorts like Kevin Beardsley or those guys?
I met a lot of them. In fact, you probably don't remember this, but I actually ran into you at I think it was a PAX.
You did?
We didn't know each other very well back then.
Seriously?
Yeah.
We've met?
Oh yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah. Well,
you
yeah. I mean,
tell
for
me
me,
this now?
see, I'm meeting Mark Kern, right? So for me, this is a big deal. You're meeting some random fan, so you're like, okay, you know.
Wow, was I rude?
Um, well,
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Of course, you are rude to plebs. You know, it's establishing hierarchy.
so
I must establish dominance.
you kind of laughed in my face when I talked about working in the game industry.
Oh no.
I was like, okay.
Oh no. I'm sorry. But you don't want to work in the game industry.
I mean,
There-
yeah, I would laugh at that, even though I don't
well,
really work in the gaming
it's
industry.
yeah, it's funnier now, 12 years later or something. I was
Wow.
like, oh my
Yeah.
God.
Well, this
I
is
see
awkward.
why.
I'm going to mute you now. This is very awkward.
Okay, so the point you asked about, so the point I wanted to make is just that I had asked you about what you thought of WildStar. And you at the time you didn't want to play the tab targeting thing. And so you were talking about, you really like what they're doing, you really like those guys, and if it was a different combat model, you'd actually be more, be into it, but you liked everything else. So then later I was talking to them about it, and a lot of them had a lot of positive things to say about you. And I'm like, you know what? I just talked to him, and he said a lot of positive things about this game and what you guys are doing. And one of them straight up teared up and was so excited. He's like, "Oh my God, I'm so glad to hear that." And I can't remember people's names now. This is, so many years ago, but
Oh, there were so many. It was an offshoot of the WoW team. I think about 10 people, and NCSoft recruited them, gave them the opportunity, and man, NCSoft was throwing around mad budgets at the time too. So WildStar got a huge budget, and some of the best animators went over there too. So I loved all the characters in WildStar, all the animations and things like that.
yes.
Yeah, NCSoft kind of went off the rails, and I think it's I don't know why, but I'm actually friends with the founder, TJ Kim, right? And he was really, I don't know. I think he was on his way out. Like he'd made a bunch of money with Lineage and everything else, and he had bigger plans in non-gaming industry fields, and he eventually handed off control of the company, and but he was really invested in WildStar. He really wanted to make WildStar a success, and I don't know why. Players say it was the end game, I guess, that didn't hold together for WildStar. Hey, I got an idea. Everyone says this, right? New World. Oh, it's great in the beginning, but the end game sucks. Oh, this MMO is great, but there's no end game. We're a little so MMO development. I'm convinced now. It should be developed backwards. Make the end game first.
Yeah, well, with the MMOs, people expect, or have been trained to expect to be able to put in like 1,000 hours in it.
Yeah.
And when you don't really have something at the end, something sufficiently time gated, like World of Warcraft Raid, you can do it once every week, then shame.
Yeah, joking aside, like the way we approach things as Ember is like, hey, Ember isn't about the end game. Ember is about the journey. Ember is about the simulation that's happening around you in this sort of open world, and moving to more dynamic encounters and updates that add additional encounters over time for a sort of combinatorial effect on the content, and to get rid of the level mentality and to focus on tiers and maintaining your tiers and back and forth. It fundamentally shifts the thinking, I think, away from endgame, or at least that's the hope, right? And so there's two answers to this. One is, hey, make an MMO that doesn't rely on the content treadmill endgame structure, that gives you other things to do, that makes things interesting in other ways, gives you other pursuits to do that are not, raid this dungeon, raid that dungeon, now raid the next dungeon. And the other thing is, of course, if you're making a traditional MMO, I say make it backwards. Start with the raids. That way you don't disappoint anyone. Start with the raids, because what happens is you have all this. You have the feeling of the more time to make stuff in the beginning than you do at the end. So I'm like, just make it backwards. I kind of say that tongue in cheek, right? Because you're like, well, you have to build all the basic systems and stuff. It's like, yeah, sure, but you don't have to build like the world and the zones and everything. Just start with the dungeons and work backwards. If you're making a traditional MMO, I think that would be hilarious. If they, I should consult. I'd be like, hey, Amazon, in your next MMO, I got this great idea. Yeah, we're gonna make it backwards.
The whole concept of the dungeons has been interestingly sort of warped, because today when you say you go to you're going to a dungeon, it's like it's like you're running an obstacle course that you know about beforehand. Like you know which obstacle is where, how to jump over it, and so on and so forth. I haven't really played the original D&D, but when you were sort of like going into dungeons in the more traditional sense, it was more of an exploration than going through an obstacle course. So at least that was what I gather. So
Like, you mean
the concept of going into a dungeon has been fundamentally changed with the way World of Warcraft does things.
well, which is the way EQ did. Same model.
Oh, that's interesting. I don't know the all the other games, the history of those, but yeah, fundamentally the games like this, because of the non-dynamic nature of it, the concept of going into a dungeon and raiding and stuff like that, it changed into just going through an obstacle course.
Yeah. That we took that straight from EQ. When people have asked me what to. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's not something randomized dungeons would fix. This is the thing, because you get randomized dungeons in Diablo 2, and it still doesn't feel.
Oh, can you guys
really
excuse me for a
like
second? I'm getting a call from the school. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
You go ahead and go ahead, Harry.
All right. Well, the Diablo 2 has randomized tile generation in the outside world, but it's most observable in the dungeons, right? So when you're, for example, in the second act and going through the Tomb of Tel Rasha, the last one before Duriel, it's never really the same, but there is a room with the pedestal that you put the staff on, and you don't necessarily know the exact path from A to B like you would know in World of Warcraft when you go into Tempest Keep, for example. But you get the gist of it enough that it might as well be static. Wherein there are going to be the Viper enemies, they're going to be the Mummy enemies, and the other enemies. All the rooms are going to look roughly the same, to the point where the distinction is not really even perceptible, and you might as well be in a static content. And so randomizing the dungeons like that doesn't really approximate. It's just more or less a distinction without difference for the obstacle course, compared to when a dungeon master prepares a dungeon exploration sort of thing for you, wherein it's exploration in the sense you don't know what's coming. It's unpredictable fundamentally. I suppose that's an unsolvable problem, because you would be asking a computer to create a narrative for you, which AI generated narratives isn't the thing, and probably won't be for a long time. I don't really have a point in this. I'm just remarking upon the fact that the concept of dungeon exploration has sort of became this static thing, this static obstacle course thing, and I don't know if there is even really a way to innovate in that sense.
Have you encountered any systems that you enjoyed that kind of gave you a some sense of replayability, on a personal note?
I have very, very odd replayability sensibilities. Like, the game I have replayed the most in my life was Mass Effect 2. Even though I really dislike that game. I am a very odd person like that, because I don't like what Mass Effect 2 did to the ammo system. I still maintain Mass Effect 1 is the best game in the Mass Effect series. Mass Effect 2 The attractive thing about that was, I suppose, the personable narrative of building a squad, of flying around with the spaceship thing. I don't know why I liked it. What attracted me to repeat it? So I am an anomaly in this. I am not a person to come to and ask, well, which system you would like to. I'm not representative. I'm a weirdo. But
I kind of like weirdos because they give you a new perspective, you know.
yes, but again, if I were to come up with my ideal game, it would be probably something only I would play. That's the problem with weirdos. I think the most important, like philosophically from very high level, the most important thing about a video game is the sense of affecting the world, the sense of creating a change. Because when you think about what's satisfying about something like Fear, right? The first person shooter Fear. I think Fear has more of a satisfying gameplay, like core gameplay loop. And I'm not necessarily talking about the AI. The AI is its own thing that I have different opinions on. But the way the combat goes, right? The goriness of it, the effect of the guns, the effect of the grenades. The real, like, you shoot the enemy with a shotgun and it just explodes into the mist as he's screaming, right? And there's something about that gives you the sense of you affecting the world. Similarly, the sense I get when playing Doom Eternal, when you sort of set the enemies on fire and shoot them and they explode into armor piñatas. That's something very satisfying about that.
It sounds a bit like you're talking about the specific interplay between the player's actions and the enemy's reactions, because Fear was famous for how its AI worked, and then Doom Eternal has a very specific kind of chessboard of enemies that kind of allow you to play, if that makes sense. Like the word play would mean a game, but like play, like it's fun, like things are changing and there's a certain amount of improvisation. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the improvisation stuff, the sort of chessboard, the chess sort of chess thing you do inside an encounter is interesting, although it's not really something that the original Doom did, right? For example, people say that it's not really these new Doom games are not really Doom games because it's a series of interconnected arena fights. When the original Doom maps were all sort of these somewhat non-linear progression maps with can I say undirected progression, something along those lines. But that's even higher level than I'm talking about. I specifically mean the actual act, like on a physical level, where when you press left mouse button, the gun fires and it affects something. Not necessarily what how you structure the fight, where you go after that, but this simple sense of effect on the world, I guess. That's something that interests me, and something that I feel. For example, when you the counteract to that is when you have an ineffective gun. Right, when you feel like the gun isn't doing anything, you feel disappointed. So that's sort of the opposite end of that, like when you're going in a direction you don't want to go. And I'm noticing, so Deus Ex isn't necessarily a game that's really, it's more of a puzzle game than a shooter game. Like the shooting in it is merely an expression of resource management, of basically in the vein of System Shock, right? Because Deus Ex was really just, it's the next step of after System Shock. And it was more of a resource management thing, an expression of your effectivity of resource management, especially when you play like higher difficulties, and when you were sort of encouraged and incentivized to puzzle around the combat as well. And even though it was very, very satisfying when you just brute force through it. Like there are points on Deus, I replayed Deus Ex is one of those like second most replayed game. There are points in the game when just massive amounts of enemies spawns on you that you either were not supposed to really fight, or you're like you're fighting 20 enemies or 30 enemies are going against you, right? And it's incredibly satisfying to shoot through them, even though obviously their game doesn't necessarily want you to do that. It's, set them on fire, throw grenades on them, shoot them all in the face. Uh,
I'm
the
back.
game. Oh, all right. Is everything all right?
You were talking about everything's okay. I just had to.
Yeah, right.
The school never calls, and usually if they do, it's like your kid's coughing. You got to take him out for 2 weeks, even though he's COVID negative. I'm like, oh, okay, but it wasn't that, so it was fine. It was just about end of semester grades and assignments and things like that. Sorry about that, folks. The school rarely calls. I normally wouldn't have answered it like that, but the times they've called in the past, it's been some sort of like your kids in the nurse's office had an injury or that type of thing. So I had to pick that up. But yeah, so I came back to setting people on fire, which I guess is an improvement for how we degenerate into naval talk sometimes. But what did I miss?
Yeah, that's just talking about the concept of affecting the world, and just providing the importance of the game providing the feeling that you're affecting the world. And because there's a line that I always remember, and it was from Deus Ex. There was a point where you sort of start talking to an AI prototype, and it basically talks about how the concept of people inventing God because they wanted to be judged eventually. They wanted to be made aware that their existence affect externality.
They want
That
a leaderboard, a scoreboard.
something along those lines, because the way you interact with the AI, it starts JC Denton, male, born, blah blah blah. And it's like you're spying on me. Like, well, what's this about? It's like and the AI replies basically, I did this many times, and I always watch people start to smile when they realize that they are being seen, like that they are being judged by something, that they are being acknowledged by something external. So that was always interesting concept to me. And there's a lot of things about that, like in Deus Ex, that there's interesting philosophical takes. And it was even a thing that was like on the side. It was like a bonus thing you'd find in one of the later levels.
Well, that's interesting.
But yeah, it's interesting.
I think MMOs do a very good job of that in one way, which is external validation by how you look and what level you are, right? So when you look at someone's profile and you see what gear they're wearing and what what their level is and stuff like that, and you get that sort of acknowledgement. And it's kind of cool if someone even messages you. Like in Final Fantasy, there's a lot of fashion quest, right? That's like a whole end game in Final Fantasy. And when someone messages you, say, "Hey, where did you get that outfit?" or "Where did you get this?" then that, and then you're like, well, and you tell the story. It's like, well, I got this in this dungeon, and I had to do this, and I had to do that. It was really cool, and you can do it too. And I think that is that feel good moment, right? That external validation.
Yeah, and basically the game, what I was talking about, what you want to hear is how fear basically made the game, made the weapons, the combat so visceral. And that made it so satisfying. Basically, when you run up to an enemy and shot him in a chest with a shotgun, he just disappeared, like exploded into red mist. Like, comically exaggerated, but it felt good, Or when you threw a grenade, it's just demolished the room. Lights went out, glasses got broken, stuff got thrown around the room, and enemies just vaporized into red mist.
Oh,
yeah, it's an interesting level of interaction.
I mean, that's part of Doom's appeal too, is the visceralness of the killing the demons, right? Especially if you do a melee strike or a finisher on them. Yeah, that is something that was missing from New World for me, right? New World is a game that's highly focused on crafting, so of course it was very interesting to me to try out. But I play a lot of crafting games, right? I play Satisfactory, I play Valheim, I play Deep Rock isn't a crafting game, but there is a heavy mining component, right? So I wanted to play it for that. And one thing I noticed on stream in New World when I was streaming the game and talking about it is, hey, the mining and gathering doesn't feel satisfying. The sound effect, y- y- just down to the sound effects and the animations and the sparks. The sparks weren't big enough, right? And that's an example of where, like, it was more satisfying to gather materials in Valheim or in Deep Rock Galactic. I think that has to feel good, right? Like, you know, um, I guess the designer of Gears of War, Cliff Belinsky, is very famous for saying, "Hey, the very first thing that your gun has to is you're in a shooter is your gun has to feel good. Your gun has to feel good even if you're shooting a wall, right?" He was very adamant about that, and I think there's something to that. It's like if that's gonna be a key pillar of your game, gathering materials in the world, then I think that should be extremely satisfying. And that's sort of like what we tried to do with Firefall. Is we tried to make gathering very different in MMO, right? From because we came from WoW, and WoW was like tinking on a rock that's respawning in the same place over and over again, and we turned it into this big encounter of thumping, right? And that was a lot more fun to gather materials that way than it was just tinking on a rock outdoors. But that is I think that visceralness in a shooter is important too. This the satisfying of how to pop creatures and things like that. And that's where we're not there yet with Ember, and that's where we're putting a lot of effort in. And we have the tools because Harry, you've created some great tools, and I've been thinking a lot about gunplay and recoil. And I want to do another pass at our sound effects, and I want to do another pass at our bullet spread tuning. I think people now are used to much less spread than before, and it actually feels more satisfying if you can land more shots. And our ranges are farther, so our spread's probably too wide for that. So all of that stuff I'd like to revisit because it's so important. It's so important to get that visceral feeling. And then the death animations and how they die is super important. So we don't have giving yet for these knee biters, right? I have some cool death animations for them, but I don't have any giving yet. And I think these guys need to pop. Like they need to pop in a very satisfying way. And again, like I said, not take a clip and a half of ammo to do it. And if we can do that, I think the encounter becomes more viscerally satisfying. And I think a lot of people miss that in games. A lot of people, when they're making games, they get the mechanics in there and all the mechanics work, and it's like, oh, you could have just brought it over the top if you just focused on a little bit of the visceralness of it a little bit more. Oh, couple things I got to get out of the way. I forgot. This is Cyber Monday. Cyber Monday means that all packs and upgrades are 30% off, and it's the dollar sub for House Wraith. So this is yeah. Yes, Chaz, 30%. And I have to tell you that there is a new skin out too, and for today only and the days prior, from Friday, from Black Friday till today, it's $1. So we're doing another dollar skin, and this is a new skin. Let's see if I can get some stuff prepared here in OBS. This is a new skin that was created by two new artists. Well, one new artist and one that I've had on the team for a while, but I didn't have them really do anything as polished as we did until now. So let me see if I can get the first image up here. And this is by a Japanese artist who I really like. Okay. Oh, good. You can see this. Let's put it to screen. All right, this is the House Wraith light frame, and this is the rough concept. What you're seeing now is the Japanese artist. Gosh, I forget his name. Let me grab his name real quick. All right, his name is Em8er on Twitter, and I'll post it here in Discord. And he specializes in this sort of like, this sort of like glowy vibe, right? And this comes with the skin that we're doing is like, let's do the whole 9 yards for the holidays. Let's do the light frame armor. Let's do both a male and female version G suit, but we only had the time to draw the female. And then let's go ahead and put that all up for $1 because we want to make sure that we stay above 1,500 subs so that we can model the heavy frame. And we're at 1,540, so that's good. And let me show you the poster. And it's like, let's take that frame and let's make it into a really kind of epic poster here. So here's the poster that another one of our artists did.
Bit zoomed in.
Yeah, I'm going to transform it here in a second. Oops, no, that's the transparent one. Let me get rid of the transparent one. There we go. Let's fit this to screen. Okay, so this is House Wraith. Now, if you remember in Em8er, there are different houses, right? You know how Firefall had corporations? Firefall had like Omnidyne Systems M and Aztrek Corporation and everything else. This is how we arrange it in houses. So the way that the technological theme works is instead of corporations, there are all the Gatestrider houses that have come together in a collective on home to sort of like, find a new planet together before they came to Em8er. And they each have a visual style. In Firefall, the corporations didn't really have a distinct visual style in their armor. And I thought that was something that was a shame, that could have really been pushed a little more. And so what we're doing here is we are doing a different visual style. So if you get equipment, or if you're crafting equipment from House Wraith, it has this kind of very glowy theme to it. And for the G suit, it's a peerless grade, and this is legendary variety. So this is only once a year. This skin is legendary, so it's now or never. Grab it. It'll still be up this month, but it'll go back to the regular $7.95 price for the monthly sub. And then, but if you want to grab it for $1, today's the last day. So 30% sale on packs today, and then it's a dollar sub for the Wraith skin. Yeah, no subtlety here. And he's like, wow, House Wraith, zero subtlety. No subtlety here. So let me know what you think. And I think for the Peerless Grade, I want to try to do a glitch shader for the glow. Do you guys know what a glitch shader is? It's where, like, the suit glitches in cool, interesting ways. The glowy parts of it. And I'd like to try a glitch shader for that. Maybe a ripple effect or some other thing. I think it would look really cool. And being the Peerless skin, it would include something like the glitch shader in it. Peerless also means that you get mesh variations. There's some variations to the G suit. Now, this is for the G suit. We have not discussed how frames get customized yet. And for a light frame, what we're talking about is the wings, the backpack, the leg armor, the giant armor on the hands, that type of thing. So that's something that we haven't discussed yet. But I'm talking about when I say Peerless grade, we're purely talking about the G suit, and there will be a male version of this suit as well. All right, okay, so that's out of the way. We got the business out of the way. What other questions do you guys have? For thumping or knee biters or houses or the lore or these sort of things. Will there be battles wherein you have to use thumper-size omni frames? Em8er, if you pilot a heavy, it's likely going to be almost as big as a thumper, the way that it's being blocked out right now. So the idea is that they're the Titanfall-sized ones. And will there be larger ones? I mean, we've played around with the idea that during invasions there could be additional size mechs that are authorized to deploy. Because that's how we control it, right? Like normally you don't play with all the vehicles in the world, but during invasions, like PlanetSide, there will be deployment platforms, and you can res things that you otherwise normally wouldn't use on your day-to-day adventuring, just for that battle. just because because of the huge threat that's involved. There's different threat levels of invasion. How many light frames can it fit inside a heavy frame? All of them. That's the correct answer. All the light frames. No, you can stack quite a few. Like, I think we had a scale diagram before. I think there are at least 4 light frames tall. Maybe more. How long do we get Gundam skins for the frames? I don't know. Talk to Bandai and get back to me. They let us do Gundam themes. Our invasion call-in is going to be point-based. What does that mean, Twisted Void? Explain your question a little more. Let's see. Star Trek Online. I haven't played Star Trek Online. Oh, they let you take different nacelles and saucers and things and combine them. Okay, that's pretty cool. You know, a lot of Armored Core fans want that functionality. They want to be able to like swap out their legs for tank treads and things like that. Our system is currently not really designed for something like that, so that's something to have to look at. But I want to be like a really mech-centric game, and so I've sort of like made a promise to myself that I'd play more Armored Core. I'd play more, even BattleTech and things like this, and just get a feel for the genre that is as it is traditionally versus the more Firefall approach. Em8er says, I know I keep asking, but it's because I really like the Wraith concept a lot. Is there a way I'd be able to use that design as a variant of the G-Suit, or does it have certain incompatibilities with the current riggings? Well, what you're seeing with the Wraith is both a G-Suit and a frame, but if you're wearing a G-Suit, you can't take the sleeves of one G-Suit and then wear it with the bodysuit of another G-Suit. It doesn't work that way. It's sort of like a one-piece thing, and then there's stuff that can be layered on top, right? G-Suits are sort of like I guess Star Citizen has this too. They have the undersuit. You can think of the G-Suit as the undersuit. So you can normally stack stuff on top, but I'm thinking of a flagging system where it's like, hey, if it's incompatible, different sections you may not be able to overlay because it would cause clipping, or it would just visually, it would look like a graphical error, and so we'd have to limit it in some ways. But, and for the frames, I'm being very careful, because before I said for the frames you can mix and match like leg pieces with arm pieces, and I think that's still going to be the case, but I'm still trying to figure out exactly how that works before we talk too much more about it. Yes, Em8er, the concept is both the light frame and the G-Suit together. Tosado says, I know you get freelance artists to do art for the skins and whatnot. Is there a place I can drop some recommendations? Just DM me on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, or you can do it here in Discord, and I'll go check their portfolios out. I'm not looking for too many more new ones for skins. What I am looking for is concept. I'm looking for concept artists for sci-fi interiors and landscapes, right? Because I want to start thinking about the buildings of the bases, because they need to be in the Kickstarter movie. And we're not going to fully model them out. We're going to use movie magic to simplify our job there, because they're not seen from every angle, right? They just have to be there in certain shots as Crow just stomps through and demolishes stuff. So if you guys have seen people on Twitter or ArtStation or whatever that you think have really cool interiors and things, go ahead and link them to me. You can just, my DMs are open on Twitter, and I'm open on Discord. You can send me those links. I will say that a lot of concept artists these days are so booked. Even some of the ones I've worked with in the past, good friends like Cole Price, he's booked for 2 years on Netflix specials, dude. Like, they have like so much planned. All these, everyone's watching more series at home, more television at home, and so there's a ton of stuff in the pipeline, and there's a ton of sci-fi stuff. I don't know, maybe we're moving away from superhero movies and we're going into game genres and other genres, and a lot of the concept artists are having to spend a lot of time on movie properties now, movie and television properties. So that was interesting. Okay. Uh, Kerbonaut. Kerbonaut CC. Love the name. Would you consider an accessory system to tack on simple customization bits onto frames? Could make for simpler customization system if mix and match doesn't work well. Well, we could more. You mean like going more granular? Like, I've seen another mech game that does this, which lets you sort of like actually attach armor plates to different places and things like this. Is that what you mean? That's one way to do it, where you can sit here and actually individually swap that out at a very granular level. I don't know if that's simpler or more difficult than mix and match. Mix and match might actually be simpler than that. But I'm really trying to, and you know, we're a small team, right? So I can't promise everything in the world, but the the fantasy of owning a mech that's yours and being able to like tinker on it and really kind of like have a level of fidelity and detail that hasn't been done in any mech game before is something that I think really interests me, right? Because that's something that when I played Star Citizen, I was like, wow, these ships are really detailed, and they're right down to the components behind the sliding panels, and you know, it's so much of it. It's like getting a toy that's fully articulated and has a lot of things that you know, gadgets that, you know, things to do with the action figure, right? Panels to open, things like this. There's something about that that's immensely satisfying. But they have a different model where they're selling you ships, right? And so and the cost is not just the cost of the ship, but the development portion of that ship. And so they can do that. They can put all that time and attention into it. And it works better. If I were to apply that to Ember, it would work a lot better for something like giant mechs than it would for light frames. You know, light frames, there's only so much you can do. Yes and no. I mean, I don't know if you guys know, I'm a big Iron Man fan. So, you know, I actually love the suits, and I have one of these very high-end Iron Man suit figures where every hatch opens and every weapon system deploys, and right down to the flaps working on some of the things. And I really, really like that. So when I say light frames can't do that, actually light frames could, but you're talking about an immense level of detail, right? An immense amount of work. And right now, I don't know if if the way our business model works is compatible with doing that. The way Star Citizen is set up, their business model works perfectly with that, right? So they can go ahead and actually, you know, really lavish that sort of attention. I would like to find a way to do that. I don't, and this is another reason why I flipped Crotus and the frames right now, is because I want to put some thought into this. And what can we do? And, you know, switching to UE5 and Nanite, that was one potentially promising thing. It's like if we can skip the low poly stage, we can cut out half the work of making these frames. And if we can cut out half the work of making these frames, can we make them more interesting and intricate and toy-like? And for the bigger frames, have really detailed cockpits for them and things like that. Is that a possibility? So that's something that we're going to be testing here. Because I would like to get, if we, there's no way we're going to get all the way to Star Citizen in terms of details of these mechs, right? But if we can just capture that toy-like, I don't want to say toy, if we can capture that realistic feeling where some hatches open and there's some level of detail there, even if we're just 10% of where Star Citizen is, I think that helps immersion and helps the fantasy of the mech. Like, our job is to give you the fantasy of owning powered suits, owning mech suits, and fighting kaiju, right? And the other reason I flipped it too is because the kaiju haven't gotten enough love. And if you don't do something in the beginning of the game of the development, it tends to get, this ties into the MMO point, right? Where we talked about how the end game of MMOs don't really work and they should probably build them backwards. In startup culture, we talk about feature sets of the product you're making, right? Like, I work with a lot of VC in the past, venture capitalists and investors, and they always they say to me, like when I was describing Firefall to them and this feature and that feature, and I was talking about the AI director, they said to me, it's like, you know what, you should work on that now. You should work on that now, because products have a habit. New products have a habit of saying that if you don't front load at least some of the work for one of your major features in the beginning, it just doesn't happen. It ends up getting cut in the end. And that's what happened with Firefall is the AI director never fully materialized, right? So uh, the focus for Ember is a little different, but it's quite clear. It's kaiju, mecha, and then, the waifus and husbandos. And if we don't do the kaiju now, if we leave it till later, we're not going to have the best kaiju experience. So that's why I want to front load that. We have started on the frames, right? I've got blockouts for the light and the medium and the heavy. I have, a frame in the game already. I've got a medium frame. We have waifus. We've done a lot of waifus. We haven't done enough work on the kaiju part. And that's what makes it unique, right? You got to do something different these days. If you're an indie game, you can't just say, "Oh, we're going to make a game like this AAA game. It'll be totally the same, except it'll be indie." Oh, okay. that's not going to be a very good recipe for success because you don't have the budget of the huge AAA genre, and it's already locked up by so many people. But we are now in an environment, thanks to digital distribution, where it's really more important, I think, for indies to cater to different niches and to do very well, to do a narrow set of things very well, and to offer an experience that isn't offered anywhere else. And when I play Star Citizen, I'm like, there's no game here yet that would really suck me in, but there's a world and there is a experience here that I can't get anywhere else, and that keeps me coming back, right? That keeps me coming back and checking on it. The experience that we're going to offer, so we've got to have an experience that no one else offers, and I think that's going to be like, these massive kaiju battles where you've got 100 players in mechs going up against them, and we're not shy about having our women look like women instead of men, instead of like having to sort of like make them into men in order to make them feel empowered. It's like, no, let's have badass women that look great. So and the whole industry shied away from that. So that's a niche that they've abandoned that we can fill. And then the whole kaiju and mecha fantasy, that's not very well served. And there's a decent amount of fans of both out there. And when we combine those, I think that's where we're offering an experience that you can't get anywhere else. And it's time to show people that, right? So we've done the waifu. We have a medium frame. We've got more frames coming. Let's get the kaiju in there. Let's complete the trifecta. That is my thinking, so that we can really, and then let's update the webpage to reflect that, so that now people have a more complete image of the game. I think right now, when you ask your friends to play and everything else, they look at the website and they're like, well, I don't really know what this game is about. And so I think it's really important that we do a minor refresh of the website and to have some game-ready assets for that. So it's not just all concept. Like you can see the Sihu movie playing in the background. Okay, we've got our aliens races, we've got our creatures. Let's get the kaiju in there, and so that's part of that. And then the other thing is, let's make it a great kaiju fantasy, right? So let's make sure that how we treat the kaiju is just as epic and reverent as every good Godzilla movie that's made, and maybe some of the bad ones too, right? That are kishy and fun. Let's get some of those moments in there. And for the mecha, it's like, everyone wants another Armored Core, but I don't think anyone wants Armored Core graphics, because they want what's in the cinematics, right? When you see the Armored Core cinematics and how epic they look, they want those moments. And if you look at the game stuff, it was great for its time, right? But the last time we had really cool mechs like Armored Core, they were boxes, basically. You had like 300 polygon, things running around, and no sense of believability or realism or any of the fidelity that you can get today. It's like, so why don't we deliver on that fantasy? And I see that as our mission. That's what we need to do. And then, as far as the framework of the game, it's quite clearly Firefall, right? It's like, hey, open world, dynamic events, everything crafted, mining. That's the framework where we're going to tie in all these things. And oddly enough, Firefall was supposed to have kaiju. They were supposed to have titans. The launch movie for Firefall had a titan at the end, and that is a kaiju, right? And we never delivered on it. We built the model. You could actually run around in it in game a little bit if you were in dev mode, cheat mode. I remember a long time ago, my son, who was young at the time, loved hopping into that thing and just stomping on everybody, right? So yeah, that's just some general thinking of where I'm at and I hope that clarifies things a little bit to you guys about where our priorities are. Kaiju, mecha, not shying away from having great-looking men and great-looking women in the game who are all badasses, and then applying the lessons of Firefall Beta to that. The open world, the dynamic events, the thumping, the crafting, and things like this. And then the invasion system, right? We said that we're taking two things from Firefall that we know worked really well. We're gonna take the crafting and the thumping, and we're gonna take the invasion system. And especially when you first logged into a crashed server and the entire zone was red and you had a huge battle over the entire zone, that worked. That was fun. Let's take those two as the foundation. Well, Gordrana, I think the cat's out of the bag. There's obviously no way we're going to make Kickstarter for this year. But what I want to do is I want to make a roadmap so that's public. I want to make a public roadmap for the remaining features that need to be done and to have that ready early next year. And we'll have a big chief chat about it, and we'll go through it and everything else. But it is time. So yeah, we're shooting for early 2022. I'll know when I flow it out, and when the roadmap is there, we will put the roadmap on that updated website. It's just it's not going to be a major website or anything, or maybe it will. I don't know. I think it's really important that we have a good landing site, because you guys are bringing a lot of new faces in, and our concept artists bring a lot of new faces in. But when they land on our website, it doesn't do the game justice. So that needs to be redone. And I don't want it to be like the original website, which was a blog with a bunch of long articles people had to read. It needs to be crisp and modern and get the information over to you quickly and efficiently and evoke the fantasy, right? So that's what I want to do. So, yep, come January, you can expect a roadmap from us to Kickstarter. And, I don't know when it is yet because I got to talk to the team. I got to do the roadmap. But then it will be shared with all of you. It's time. But I'm really happy with the progress. I mean, we haven't been fallow, right? Like you've seen the knee biters, though, and you haven't seen their. Some of you saw their sneak peek animations before, but we got their animations in. The Sihu animations are in. The Sihu animation network is being built up by Harry right now. The Vertex stuff, once Ricardo lands and is settled in his new country, which should be any day now. He was just waiting for the visa to complete. Then we will look at animating the knee biters, and then we're gonna have Crotus. So we're working on the technology for kaiju tech. We worked on waifu tech. Now we're working on kaiju tech, and we're gonna get the kaiju in there. And then we'll do a redesign of the website so that you can say, hey, friends, remember this game I told you about? Go check out the website. They completely redid it. I think you're going to like it. It's going to explain a lot more about what the game is about. And it's going to explain it like the way I did here with you today. Let's see. Dr. 4G on OV, Third Lord. Wow, that's the name. One last question of the day. Can we get redheaded Scottish female and male AI that will just swear at us like Gordon Ramsay? My request line is open. Sure. Okay.
No, you stupid donkey.
Maybe. Maybe we can have Gordon Ramsay and Uncle Roger. I don't know if you guys watch Uncle Roger on YouTube. He complains about fried rice a lot. But and he has inappropriate jokes. And he also goes, sorry, children, as a breaks the fourth wall to apologize to the kids whenever he drops an innuendo. And I think he makes fun of Jamie Oliver. Jamie Oliver's fried rice. He digs on that a lot. Yeah, there will be different AI OPAI personalities, and a Scottish abusive personality noted. I will put that in the idea pile. You want the guy from Chef? Yeah, the lower post one. That'll be a good one. All right. I think it's time to do some raffles. We've been talking here for a good hour and 20 minutes. We had a little diversion for school. But I think we should do a ketchup pack, Ronan. Since we've got the skin up here on the screen.
Ketchup.
Ketchup. I'm so excited. I'm popping glider wings. Look, I can make him waggle.
You know. That's how you know when he's excited. He pops his glider wings. Not a euphemism.
I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to deep strike, Ronan. Sorry, yes. Children.
Yes. All right. All right. We're about to do a raffle for a ketchup pack. Now, does everybody in here know what a ketchup pack is? Do we have any new people? First timers? The uninitiated? The unclear? The unaware? No, I didn't say underwear. What? Afros and Spawn. Okay, so we have at least one new person. So let me tell you, over the several months where we've been doing an Em8er patron program, every month you get a skin. If you're part of it, you get a skin. That's right. It can be for a gun. It could be for a mech. It could be for a pet. And of course, it could be for a husbando. And our most popular, a waifu. There's a variety of things that the skins can be for. And that's what we give every month if you're on the Em8er subscription program, which, by the way, right now you can sign up for $1. Was it, Grums? So if you're interested, jump on there, get it. But in the meantime, Faye, do we have a picture of all the skins that are out right now?
We sure do.
Awesome. Now, guys, I want you to look at this because if you win this here ketchup pack that we're about to raffle off, you get all of those skins in one fell swoop. One single victory will collect you all of those. All of those skins. Make the picture bigger. Behold the variety of badassness. We got pets, we got mechs, we got guns. Both that you shoot and on the arms of some of our characters. That's right, that's a lot of skins. Salty, don't make me call you out over here, okay? I'll make you come up in front of the class or something. That's right. Algebra time. Okay, guys. So now some of you may not know how this works. So at first we're gonna show you how a raffle works. What we're gonna do is called a test raffle. Now, a test raffle is when we put up a little bit of information and you get to click on it just to win. Well, you win nothing technically, but you do kind of get face thanks, which is like our version of saying thank you. She's the best. She's the best at it. But that's how it works. All right, what you're going to see is you're going to see a sentence from Faye, our community coordinator. Underneath that, you're going to see a sentence from Em8er. And underneath that, you're going to see a little notepad emoji with a pencil on it. It's an emoji, it's a notepad, it's got a pencil on it. Okay? All you do is click on it. You click it one time, puts you in the running. Don't click it twice because it takes you out, and that's no good. And remember, folks, when this is up, please do not post anything. We don't want it to be scrolled away and lost forever. We want to give everybody a chance to see it. Real quick, if you're over on Twitch, you got to get over here in our Discord because you can't click on it from Twitch. So if you're not already part of our Discord, get over here. Okay, Faye, when you're ready, go ahead with the test raffle. Remember, folks, this is the test raffle just to make sure you all know how it works. Take it away.
All right, everybody ready? On your mark. Get set. Go. I see you, Sarge Joe.
Right. Who's gonna win phase tanks? I hope it's me. Oh, how do we say that? Is that Kyber? Is that how we pronounce that? Kyber? Quibbler? Queeber. Okay. Congratulations, Queeper. You win face. Thanks. Okay, let's go ahead and do the real raffle. The raffle for all the skins. All the skins. All right, Faye, when you're ready, hit the button.
Okay. On your marks. Get set. Click.
Here it is. Your chance to be lucky today. To get all the cool skins. Are you a fan of the bunny? Do you like the Archduke? Hmm. Maybe you want that yellow flash heavy mech skin there? Yeah. Skin? The super cool snakeity frame? What's more dangerous than a regular snake? A floating one. That's right. The winner is Nordum! That's right, Nordum. Congratulations. You get all the skins. Now remember, you get all the skins up to, but not including our current month skin. Okay, so this does not come with the Wraith frame. You still need to sign up, and it's only $1 to sign up right now for that. So it's a very easy thing to do. Now, what you're going to want to do here, Nordum, is you're going to send me, I'm Ronan, you're going to send me a private message right away. You're going to say, hey, I want a catch-up pack, and you're going to give me your Ember ID that you use on myember.com. And in a short time after that, you'll get all the skins. All right, Grumps, that is the contest. Back to you.
Thank you very much. Well, I mentioned that during the holidays we will be giving out some bigger packs. So stick around. And towards the end of the stream, we will be giving away one of those bigger packs. And all packs, of course, are on sale at 30% off right now. Tell your friends, tell your family, make a gift for the holidays. There is a gifting system for packs and built into the website. And of course, as you pointed out, the raid skin is just $1 for today. Tomorrow it goes up to regular price. All right, business stuff out of the way. We're back to Ember and questions. So I talked about how the trifecta are really mechs versus kaiju, open world, waifus and husbandos, and all set in a framework of the philosophy of Firefall. Where it's dynamic event driven, everything's crafted, everything's player driven, right? And I think that's a theme that resonates really well with people looking for new MMOs now. I mean, look at the popularity of New World and what they promised, or Ashes of Creation, that sort of thing. These themes are resonating. It is the right time to do that. So expect a website update, a refresh, a minor refresh. I don't think it's going to be a huge one. Or maybe it will. I don't know yet. I'm doing a lot of planning this December. The other thing that I'm doing is I've been writing the novel, right? And so I have another chapter or two done, and my plan is to complete the rough draft by the end of the year. That is a very big personal goal of mine, and we're only about 50,000 words away. It's not a huge novel. It's like a 350, 400 pager, and we're more than a quarter of the way through. So I think that is something, and I don't think we can wrap it up in one book either. I was like, okay, this is too big a story. But that's where you guys come in, because what I'd like to do is for the second and third books or whatever, I want to take inspiration from the player stories in the world to see where it goes from there. So I think that's my plan, is that, okay, so it's going to be one book, and then we're going to see how it takes off with you guys actually playing the game and getting ideas from that. I think that would be pretty cool. The other thing I wanted to mention, okay. Grums, what are you planning to do to control in-game economy? Okay, so there's a lot of ways in-game economies can run away from you. And one of the ones, the biggest things is not having enough sinks, right? There's faucets and there's sinks when you talk about game economies. And our faucet is the thumping, right? So it's the resources that appear in the world. Instead of doing a system where So for the faucet side of things, I want to make sure that we don't have any game bugs or things that create too many resources in the world, right? And so the idea is that there's going to be sort of like a master clock system for these resources and how often they get generated. And then I want the drops to eventually pull from that, so that if we've miscoded an encounter or if something turns out to be cheesable, we'll know because that resource gets exhausted and the master cuts them off. It's like the bartender cutting you off from another drink, right? And that's how we'll know we'll have a problem on the supply end of the economy. And yeah, the resources are RNG, but remember that in Ember they are influenced RNG. That's the plan, right? That the player has some control over that. If you put resources into your research tree and and scanning facilities and bases, you can and then you select those recipes that you want to pursue, the RNG will skew to favor that a little bit, right? And so you can influence the RNG. But the idea of the bartender, let's call it the bartender system. The bartender system for resources is the safety check. It's not meant to be like Ultima Online. Ultima Online ran into a problem where there was a sort of like bartender master allocator of resources, but they didn't plan it well enough, and then no one could get the resources they needed because it ran out. The idea isn't that it's not there to stop players. It's there to let us know we have a problem, right? So if we run out of something, we know, or if the rate's too high, or it's just sort of like a safety valve that we can check there. The intent isn't to sort of like use it to cut people off, but it's just there to make sure that we haven't coded an encounter that is incorrect, or we have a bug that results in an exploit, and suddenly we have to do resource rollbacks, which I don't want to do, right? I think that always feels bad to do resource rollbacks. The other thing is that we have a lot more sinks or ways to spend those resources than Firefall did, right? Remember that the world is, not only are you spending resources to craft stuff, you're also spending it to repair the gear pretty regularly. And you can use any resource for that. The resource gets converted at a certain rate that we set into common exchange, and common exchange can be used to repair things. So that even if you let's say you crafted a really high end tier 4 item that required rare resources, and then you use it and it wears down, and and it goes into its base durability state, which is only like, I don't know, whatever, 20% as effective as it normally is. Then you can repair it, but you don't need to hunt down those original super rare resources that you had to grind for to make that in the first place. You can just take enough of either, if you've got a whole pile of cheap resources, like in Firefall it was actually dirt, I think. But if you had enough dirt, you could convert that to enough common exchange to fix your gear. But that's not all. I mean, the other thing is the base building, right? So you get perks the more you donate resources to base building around the world. And if you've invested, and you do it by investing resources into it. And again, it can be a combination of common exchange as well as explicit resources that need to be put into it. Then there's also the research tree. We have a ton of sinks. And the thing about the bases is they're constantly being destroyed. There's an invasion going on. So they have to be rebuilt. So there's always this huge need for an influx of resources and a sort of friendly player-to-player competition on who gets bragging rights for who's helped build up the world more, or your guild, right? We don't have a name for guilds yet, but for your, the idea is that there's leaderboards in the world and per base that show sort of like who's contributed the most, and so I think that's an incentive to do more. And of course, everyone wants to build up bases because it raises the world tier. The world tier techs up with that. I think it's a really elegant system, and at least on paper. Like, we haven't had actually, the rubber hasn't hit the road. We don't have an implemented game. But in theory, I think I finally found a way to incentivize an entire server to want to expand the world and to defend these bases because it affects the world tier and the highest thing you can craft. And at the same time, I think I've got a really good resource sink to handle that economy issue that you were talking about earlier. Sorry, that was a big topic, a lot of stuff to talk about resources, but those are some thoughts. So I'm going to scroll back to the questions here and try to catch some of the earlier ones.
We'll just do complete anarchism, separate economy from the state, and we'll see if any kind of monopolistic things emerge. We'll do a live simulation. So if you end up getting ruled by a few people, not our fault.
We don't even have a politics system yet. Doesn't New World like tax players? Like whoever controls the territory gets to set a tax, like Lineage did. Lineage did the same thing. It's not a new idea. We don't have any notion of that yet. Okay, so that was Gamma Professor's question answered in a very long way. After that, we had a question by Kerbonaut again. Will it be possible to harvest scrap resources from bases that were recently destroyed by the Tsihu? Yeah, I think to some degree. I mean, Valheim does it 100%. You can reclaim everything that you ever did, and that encourages a lot of building, right? And that's great for Valheim, where you want people to create really elaborate homes and things like this. But that's not the focus for us. We actually want it as a drain. So if we do reclaim it, I think you'll only get some fraction of it back. All right, will the world tier affect the common resources for fixing stuff? No, world tier is a separate concept that does not affect the price of common exchange when you do resource conversion. It just affects things like how much resource you can refine and how fast you can refine them and things like that. As well as that's how the resources would tie into that. Let's see. Kerbonaut also asked, what happens if a min-maxing Mad Lad crashes the common exchange market? Well, common exchange is price fixing by the developers, so there isn't a free exchange for that. So common exchange is just a ratio that we as designers will set for which resources convert to how much common exchange. And so I guess we're the Federal Reserve of the world in that regard.
You said the evil words.
So that exchange rate is controlled by us. But the exchange rate for resources for other resources on the open marketplace, which is, I think, very important to the game, is scheduled as the first sort of like one of the updates we want to do after we go live, is players being able to have a marketplace to exchange resources. But not for common exchange. Common exchange is our lever on the economy. All right, Cape Line Cutemeister. Oh, interesting name. Asks, I just wanted to make sure that I was understanding newcomer packs correctly. I understand they will no longer be available after the Kickstarter, but it was explained to me that if you've already purchased a newcomer pack, you can still upgrade it after the Kickstarter. Is that true? Yes. If you have a pack for a newcomer pack and you buy it today, and we do Kickstarter, and you either participate or don't participate in Kickstarter, can you upgrade your pack afterwards? I don't see why we wouldn't let you do that. The only reservation I have is we might limit the top pack because of the amount of customization there, because you get a custom NPC and stuff like that. So we might say everything but the top tier, and we did that last time. Right, from M1 to M3, we said, you can upgrade. I guess, how did it work? Well, whatever we did, we eliminated the top tier because we didn't want that to continue on. So that's probably going to happen this time again, just because the top tier has a lot of resource intensive things in it, and it's additional dev work to support top tier. Because each one gets like, hey, we got to have a game designer write the dialogue for this NPC, for this custom NPC, et cetera, et cetera. So those packs, we may cut off upgrades to the very top pack, which is what we've done before. But almost all the other packs, we've let them be upgradable. I expect that to continue. And they are 30% off today. Upgrades too. All right. The other thing is subscriptions. Probably the more important thing is that subscriptions are going to be expanded at Kickstarter into tiers, and the tiers will include different things. And this leads to another topic that I want to get into a little bit later on stream about housing and how that will work in Ember potentially as a future update. And but the subscription price is $7.95 right now for Peerless grade skins, and we sell Peerless grades when they go standalone. They're $34.95. They're a lot of work. It's not just a color change. We give you mesh customization options, shader options, all this sort of stuff that's a lot of value, right? That no other game gives you. And we cannot continue to offer peerless grade skins after Kickstarter for the $7.95 price. So there will be a new tiered subscription system introduced at and beyond Kickstarter that isn't going to be at this price. So, but if you want to lock in the benefits of this pack, of this subscription monthly patron program, now's the time to do it, because then you're grandfathered in. As long as you keep the subscription going, you'll always enjoy the perks of that subscription for just $7.95 versus the tiered subscription system that we're launching after Kickstarter, which is going to start at a higher range, right, and offer different things. Because it's after we came up with the peerless system, and there's two reasons for that. One is peerless is a great deal. It really is. I mean, if you've watched our presentations on how the customization system will work, you'll know that it's not like Valorant selling you the color blue for $25, right? It's much more elaborate than that. So that's something that is a great deal, but and think it's a great reward for all the early faithful backers of the game. But after that, I think we have to have a price that more accurately reflects the effort involved with supporting that type of thing. The other thing is, of course, January 1 prices of all packs are going up to adjust for U.S. inflation levels. We've held off for as long as we can, but I think everyone now sees the news. We were talking about this back when people were saying, "Oh, inflation is just going to be a transitory thing."
Transitory.
Yeah, and it doesn't exist, and it's actually good for you too. And the reality is, and I was warning people back then, right? I was like, "Hey, this is the thing. We're going to hold out for as long as we can," and we did. We held out for months and months and months, and now the reality is here, and all the media agrees, even the government agrees that inflation is here and is here to stay. It's like we're back in the 1970s, right? The last time we had inflation like this. So unfortunately, we do have to adjust our pack prices upwards starting in January. So if you want to take advantage of it, it is Cyber Monday, 30% off today, and then keep looking at the site and consider you might want to consider getting a pack before January 1st or locking in subscription before Kickstarter. Okay, that was another long question for Cape Line Cute Meister. Okay, so Dr. 4G on OV Third Lord says, could have guilds be called lesser house, could be in themes with the lore of the houses, or call them vassal houses. That's interesting. We could play off that. Let's see. So, house. Vassal houses. I guess we could look at medieval stuff for that. That's kind of the vibe you're going for. Maybe there's something we could pull from that and modernize it. Okay, good idea. I like that. Gamma Professor Don Sharper asks, can player build their own outposts or structures for fast respawn, local boosts, or something else? Well, all bases are communal building. The way it works is somebody has enough resources to do the seed and say, okay, I want to start a base here. And there's certain locations in a zone where you can build bases, right? That are big enough and flat enough, because bases can be pretty big. And it's built like an RTS, so it's not like Rust or anything where you're putting up walls, or Valheim where you're thatching your roof, and or Minecraft where you're decorating block by block. No, these are like RTS spawn buildings that improve over time and have different stages of improvement. So you know how in StarCraft a building starts off pretty simple, and then as you add like this lab or that lab, it gets upgraded, right? So you can upgrade these buildings, but someone has to start the seed, or some group has to start the seed, and it isn't a lot to start one. To start call it the foundation and the construction yard, right? If we're following RTS terminology, and so they'll start that, and the building will start building, but it won't complete. It's just enough to get it started, and other players have to come along and click on the building or whatever, or interact with it in some way. We've talked about being more physical, right? So, instead of just clicking on an interface to donate resources, maybe you can actually work on it. If you have like your mech loadout, or you have an SCV type of mech, and this would be like a feature that we would throw out there and see, hey, are people interested in this type of gameplay? If so, here's a funding round for it. Otherwise it'll just be click on the building and donate resources to it, and then it'll build a little further. And the more players that dump resources into it, the faster it builds, right? Until the point it gets to be complete. And that gets used as stage 1 building. And then someone can start seed another building at that point and place it nearby and be like, okay, now I want this sort of building that does this. And each of these buildings has a purpose. Your question was about, can I get boosts from building bases, like faster respawn or something else? And the answer is absolutely yes. It's outlined in our Em8er doc book, our Em8er Vision book, which is available to all backers as a PDF download, and a free version, an unedited version, can be found in our forums. And the buildings have different purposes. So resource scanning, we talked about how you can, if you donate into resource scanning, or even if you didn't donate, you can still get the perk because somebody built a resource scanner in that base, right? But you'll get and maybe we can give you bonuses if you donated. That might be interesting. I hadn't thought of that, right? Like if you personally donated to the building of this, maybe you get a little bit extra edge. But the resource scanner lets you basically influence the RNG. So it's like imagine a building with a big, I don't know, radar dish on it or something. And what it's doing is it's scanning for resources in the nearby area and sending you pings back when you do your seismic, grand slam for it. And, if you're looking for certain resources, we know that because you can take certain recipes from your crafting tree and track them. Like you can track quests in an MMO, right? So you can say, okay, I'm interested in crafting these 3 things. Track, track, track. And now we know what resources are needed to create those items. And when we spawn the RNG for your Thumper encounter, we take that into effect. There's a little bit of a nudge to the RNG because we know you're looking for that stuff. And there's a little bit of a nudge from the bases that are nearby that enhance your chances of finding high quality or greater quantities or bigger chance of the rare stuff spawning. And then you go out and do that. And there are multiple buildings for many different things like that. So they're outlined in the player book. And so, yes, bases are hugely important for that. And the closer a base is, the more influence it has, obviously, for those perks. All right. Not Moose says, end the Grums Fed. Yeah, I'm sure that'll happen once there's any sort of central authority for the Common Exchange. Players will be very equally upset and happy at all the nerfs and changes to that. I'm sure there's no way to avoid that. Carmack Kettrell asks, hey Grums, if there are houses in the game, then how about calling player clans and guilds families? Why don't we call them it's like Fast and Furious. We can take down any kaiju when we have family. I don't know, maybe. I don't know. Family is a little too casual for me. I'd like something a little more, I don't know, themed. Because the houses are already extended families. They're not biological families, but they consider themselves families. And so, I don't know. I have to come up with a name for that. But I hear you. I mean, that and the other suggestion, I get where you're going, and it's giving me some more ideas. Kerbinot asks again, how will Common Exchange... I'm sorry, I'm in Discord right now answering questions. I haven't looked at Twitch chat. I apologize. I will go through Twitch. I'm just trying to get through the questions on Discord right now. How will Common Exchange ratios be updated as the game economy evolves? I think...
we'll
Harry.
just tie money to one of the rare metals that is named after one of us, and we're just going to leave it there.
Oh, so we're going to be like a Harry-backed currency?
Mm-hmm. Iridium specifically.
Iridium-backed currency.
The Iridium standard, yes.
I know. Why don't we tie it to the price of Ethereum so GPU, we contribute to the GPU problem? I don't know how that'll be updated yet. Normally we do it in a patch, right? But I think we might need real-time control over it. And it's something that I hope never to touch very often. I hope that we don't have to constantly... I don't see it as a constantly shifting dynamic exchange rate, right? I think of it as it's baked into the design, along with the faucets, right? Our master drip rate of resources. I see those as fixed, and I see them as if we do change them, it's going to be not a dynamic on the fly thing. It's going to be after careful consideration, and we nudge it a little bit that way, and we see how it affects the economy. All right. Nordum says Lineage did the same thing for houses and could set taxes if you took over areas of castle and so you could have multiple affiliated clans battling. Yeah, we don't have a tax system. That's good for a PvP game, right? And we're a PvE focused game, so I don't see us having a player run taxation system or Ponzi scheme system like Ashron's Call, if you guys remember the old one. Sky Comet. Grums, this is a big question which I don't expect a concrete answer on, but will you be doing the standard of punishing players for using in-game exploits, or will you be doing what Bungie does with Destiny and say, exploits are on us, we won't punish you for a problem in our game? Oh boy. Oh boy. That is a big question. I think some exploits are zero tolerance, right? Like, if there are cheaters in your game, the only way you get less cheaters is the Steam way. You outright ban a bunch of accounts. I think you have to have zero tolerance on cheats. If it's an exploit where it's a gray area and it's not just an outright software cheat, then I think the Bungie method makes more sense. But we have an economy to maintain. Bungie, look, Destiny does not have, it's not an MMO. It doesn't have that sort of collective feeling of an economy and everything else. I think they have some leeway there that MMOs don't. And I do think we have to be fairly strict on it, unfortunately, because I can tell you from experience on WoW, when we and Blizzard, old school Blizzard games, when we were strict, ultimately players were happier. And we got less of the activity. When we were not as strict, because we also had that thought about, hey, all bugs are on us. It can be, you give people an inch, they take a mile. It's just human nature, right? So I think, when judging by player response, and I'm talking about old school Blizzard, not current Blizzard behavior, which is very weird to me. I don't understand it at all. But when we would find people mass cheating, we had a bunch of subtleties to it. Not only would we mass ban accounts and be very strict about that, but we also had a good relation with people with the white hat exploiters who would tell us how an exploit's working, and we wouldn't ban them. Right? It's like, okay. You told us up front, you told us soon enough, we fixed the problem, thank you very much. Join our elite cadre of white hat, exploit checkers and hackers, and we'll work with you on that. And you can get the notoriety of saying, hey, I discovered this and everything else, because that's really what motivates a lot of the elite hackers is, I figured this out first, right? And I think that as long as they get recognition from that, and you're not punitive on the source, and they're working with you early enough to help this, I think they're happy, and you're happy because you found the exploit and you're able to fix it. When it gets out of control and someone is not reporting to us how they did it and just making the exploit available widely to everybody, and then everybody hops on and starts abusing it, and it's a like I said, it's a software level cheat, that type of thing, I think that's a ban, a mass ban. That's my current philosophy. It could change.
There was a funny story that I remember from Wrath of the Lich King when I played it. Again, I'm not sure if it was entirely true, but possible, because what happened is that a person wrote a ticket to a GM to restore an item, right? And the GM, because back then they didn't have the item recovery automated system thing they have now, they sent them the item. The GM sent them the item, but he butterfingered it and left out the single digit. And instead of the item, he sent them the insta-kill shirt.
Oh,
that it was the debug thing, Martin Thunder it was called, I think, or something along those lines. There was several of those items, Martin whatever. And they basically went on to kill the whole Duar. Or several of the older bosses with it, and they banned the whole guild or some shit like that.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it was crazy. But yeah, I remember there was there was mostly on, I don't know how you weigh that. I mean, it was fault of the GM, and probably the GM got sacked for that.
It's got to be case by case.
But
I'll just tell you.
But they also exploited it. It's like I don't know.
Yeah, I know.
But
Oh, go ahead.
yeah, there was a glitch with the first boss in Ulduar with the Flame Leviathan with the tank. Basically, when you evaded him, when you dragged him to the start of the instance and evaded him while he was evading back to his starting position, you were able to damage him. And because of the nature of the encounter, you were using vehicles and all that, you were able to kill it on hard mode, like solo almost, or with two people. And I did that. I remember doing that, and I got banned for it for like a week or some shit. I mean something. And yeah, that's just thing that happened. They took my items.
Ultimately, it's got to be case by case because every situation of an exploit is different. The level of severity and the level of fault and innocence also very different. It has to be sort of adjudicated by the community team. It has to be discussed. It has to be, and there's different solutions. A ban in some cases. Sometimes it's a rollback. It really, really depends. I know players would like to just have a bright line rule saying, "Hey, if X then Y," but that list would be infinitely long because every situation, in my experience, ultimately boils down to a very custom set of circumstances depending on the exploit. I mean, there's large categories of exploits that are very clear, and there's also a large category of exploits that you really just have to handle on a case by case basis. All right. Kerbonaut also asking, how long will it take to deploy the initial seed central building foundation? Will it need to be defended while it's under construction? Yeah, I think you can expect to have to defend it, but I don't have construction times. We're way early for that. Gamma Professor Don Sharper asks, what activity or usage planned for the heavy truck? That's planned as a feature funding milestone, right? Because we're going to have additional fundraisers after the Kickstarter, and we're going to tie them into some feature of the game, right? So for the idea that what he's talking about is he's talking about the idea that you can thumb for resources in a zone that's not under invasion and contribute them to zones that are under invasion in order to give them buffs and perks, right? Sort of like boons in Hunger Games for patrons, like airlift stuff, but like on a more massive sort of contributory scale. And originally that was just going to be a mouse click where you can just click a mouse and shoot some resources off and click on the map and say, yeah, contribute to this invasion. But we talked about making it a gameplay mechanic where we have space trucks, right? We call them space trucks. They don't fly through space. They're just on the ground, but they're these big 6-wheeler things. And I think I've got some images here. Let me see if I can call them up. Do I have space truck? I think I do. But why isn't it showing up? Okay, so this is Space Truck, right? All right, so the idea was like, okay, what if we made it into a gameplay mechanic where you actually you craft a space truck and you have different cargo containers and things. They can have resources, they can have docks for mecha, things like this. And you can actually haul the resources to the edge of your zone and deposit them at a building there. Sort of like how in Satisfactory you can truck resources around. And then on the other side, someone can take those resources in their space truck and ferry them to the base that's under attack and that sort of stuff. And that would be a really cool gameplay element. And Firefall did have a little bit of trucking stuff in there in one of the later zones that they revealed, because we talked about this back then. And so the idea was that would be really cool, and why don't we give them full-on interiors like this? Again, making the world feel lived in. I think this is very important, that if you can feel like you can live in the world, it's a very powerful, subtle feeling to the game. And so, if we did them, we'd want to do these full-on sort of interiors. So yeah, the idea is that, hey, we would love to try something like this, but we would have to set it up as a separate funding goal. So the idea is that we would put up a funding round like the newcomer packs right now, or M3, and it would be like a mini Kickstarter. and be like, hey, if we reach this amount, we will go ahead and we will build these out and we will put it into the game. So instead of just clicking a mouse, that you can actually ferry resources back and forth. And I think that would be cool. And that might be a good business model for the development of the game going forward. So this will be a good test. Maybe this will be the first test we do. We'll do some more beauty renders of this, like it. And you're not buying a truck. This is not Star Citizen, but you're sort of like funding the feature of space trucking as a goal. And either it reaches the funding goal or it doesn't. And the people who fund it will get like a unique skin for their truck or that type of thing, or a unique variant for it that isn't available somewhere else as the reward for being the risk takers for that. So that's the idea for that. All right. Cape Line Cutemeister asks, bases that are more vertical have always been spoken to me. Is there a possibility of bases having smaller areas of land to build on, but will not be restricted? And my name is pronounced Capelin or Capeline, not annoyed or anything. Okay. Well, the rule is, if I get your name wrong and I can't pronounce it, I get to name you. So, but I won't. But since this is the first time, I won't do that to you. I will just say Capelin or Capeline. All right, Capeline Keatmeister, you get to keep your name today. And vertical bases, no, I don't think so. I think we only have time to really do the horizontally based ones. And remember, it's built more like an RTS base. But they will have verticality to it because of the kaiju. We need to highlight them in scale and size. And so have been planning that they're not flat, stubby buildings, that they actually arch into the sky a little bit, visually speaking. All right, Kerbinaut asks, wow, you guys have all the questions. Will there be cheap bulk resources that are commonly available for base construction? Okay, Kerbinaut, I'm going to hold you right there. I'm going to go over to Twitch to see if we have some questions there, because I have not given them any love. And I don't mind. I've been answering a lot of your guys' questions, but I got to make sure that I'm giving Twitch some love here.
The thing I have to mention is that a lot of these things are fairly low-level design details, right? That would basically be fleshed out to any reasonable degree after, when we actually get into production, principal development, when we actually have, hire a bunch of to figure this stuff out. Currently, we're just have only like a sort of vague idea.
There's a lot of hand waving at this stage, right? Because we're not even into these features yet.
Sort of somehow going to work at some point, maybe. So asking, we probably won't be able to commit to any particular detail of a system, especially some one that is described in such a high level as there's going to be buildable bases. Probably going to be using resources of some kind for them, I guess. That's about the level of resolution we're at right now.
All right, so I'm looking in Twitch here for some questions. Let's see. There's not that many. Part-Time Jedi has a couple that he's reflected here. Will there be bioweapons of our own to heal our friends' Omniframes and kill baddies like in Firefall's Poison Shot? Yeah. Remember, if it's an ability in Firefall, there will be some version of it in Ember. We want some parity there. And we plan to have a lot more abilities and weapons than Firefall did. Firefall was actually a fairly limited set. It felt like it was the set for a single-player first-person shooter, if I'm being totally frank here. I was never satisfied with the lack of sense of progression, I guess. You could tune these sort of weapons endlessly, but you didn't really get enough of a sense that you were getting more options along the way. So that's something I want to address. It felt really limited to me. It felt like if we were making a single player game, that's the right amount of progression and weapons for that, but not for an MMO. I mean, you can look at how Destiny 2 does it, right? It's got a zillion guns. All right. So, is there a Twitch question I missed? Because people directed them over to Discord, which was good. So I'm going to go back to Discord. And Kerbinaut, I think Harry answered your question about we don't have that level of detail on bulk resources or what's differentiated yet. So unfortunately, that's not we're not at a time where we can answer that question with any sort of certainty right now. Gamma Professor asks, question above. What question? Any plans for base weapon emplacements or shields? Absolutely. Absolutely. That was in Firefall. There were turrets that opened up during invasions, right? So there will be base emplacements, base shields, base defenses, all that sort of stuff is definitely something we want. Again, it's like building an RTS base. That's always been the philosophy. Quadrana 2 asks, can we put the Wraith Firefly wings on the back of another frame? Originally, that was the plan, to let you mix and match. But as I go into this sort of like, how much detail can we put into frames and how different can we make them and what sort of variety we want? These are questions I'm answering in my mind and going over again this month. So I can't tell you right now. I suspect, yes, that you can put the wings of one on the other. I think some form of mix and match is going to be part of that process. I just don't know exactly how yet, because I may want to go really deep. I may want to go really deep on the Wraith system and have a bunch of Wraith accessories that are explicitly Wraith themed, right? And or if I have frames that are radically different, then I can't just swap them, because like look at the Omni frame that my VTuber is wearing now. That's our version 1 light frame. Our version 2 light frame is very different, right? You wouldn't, but I like aspects of the version 1 frame. Is there a way that I can still have version 1 in the game? But if I did, then I couldn't take parts from version 1 and swap them with the current design. It just wouldn't work. And that's what I'm wrestling with in my mind right now. Is there an achievement for hitting, Not Moose asks, is there an achievement for hitting Crotus in the junk? If so, please call it Scrotus.
No.
Can I blink my avatar eyes in shock? Don't know. I've been watching a lot of Critical Drinker, and I like it when he says that. He does movie reviews, and when he comes up with an inexplicable plot point, he goes, "Why would they do this? Don't know." I don't know. No, I don't think so. But then again, we gave you the dunce hat for standing in the fire in Copa, so never say never. All right, back to Discord questions.
I can't wait until we are weaving all the pop culture references into the achievement names.
Are you saying that facetiously, or do you
Yes,
actually like
I hate
that?
it.
You hate
I
it?
hate it. I want to die.
I like it. But it does date the game. When I play Final Fantasy and I see the jokes in there, I'm like, oh, those jokes are 10 years old, All right. Gamma Professor. Gamma is spelled Gamma with capital MMA. Are you like an MMA fighter? What's going on with that? Another building question. How about special builder Omni frames or building modules to standard Omni frames to get more involved in the building process? Yeah, I was talking about that. You know how StarCraft has SCV units on the Terran side to construct buildings and things like this? That's a question for you guys. So that was the idea for this feature-based funding. Hey, you guys come up with an idea for a cool feature you want, and if we think it's a good idea, we'll put it to the test. Like the space truck, we'll put it up in a special, let's call it a Kickstarter lightning round. Yeah, we'll put it up at a lightning round, and if people really want it, they can sort of vote with it, and if they reach the goal, then we'll charge everybody and we'll fund it and we'll do it. If it doesn't reach the goal, then it goes in the back burner. It doesn't mean it goes away forever. It just may be the wrong time for it. But I think that a specialized frame for if you just wanted to help build the bases, and if we could make that interesting, if we had an idea for that, I could see that spinning off as its own mini milestone fundraising goal. All right. Oh, we're getting through the questions now. Kerbinaut asks, will there be a test server where the white hat bug hunters will gather? No, because what ends up happening is that the white hat hackers want to do it live. They will never go to a test server just to try stuff there. I mean, that might be helpful to them, but it's a mentality, If you're sitting there poking around in the code, you want to do it live. You want the fame, the fortune, you want the glory, you want the recognition, and no one cares if it's on a test server. So I think that's part of the psychology of it all. So I don't think we'd have a separate server just for testing exploits, although it might be a useful tool. So maybe the answer is sort of like both. I don't know. But the idea is that if you have hackers that are willing to tell you how they did it, and before they crash everything in the economy, that should be embraced. You're not, a lot of game companies think that, oh, we'll just have a zero. We'll never have hackers if we're just, hard enough, and that's not true. You'll always have hackers, especially if you have a popular game. And so the idea is like, well, how can you make it a productive experience for at least some of them, so that you're both getting benefits out of the deal, right? All right, Sega Strong, will there be social aspects where you aren't in your mech suit, like walking around social zone? Absolutely. Home is where you can, and bases are where you can walk around in outside of frame. Outside of light frame, outside of medium, outside of heavy. In fact, heavy frames can't even fit into the buildings, right? For the most part, except the hangars. So there will be those social areas where you can just be yourself. All right. Actually, Demetrius says, actually, that's a thought, Grums. What sort of options will there be for combat styles? Any sort of melee options? I'm a big fan of punchy mechs. All right, do you see me on screen here? Do you see these giant fists? I mean, this is version 1 suit, but version 2 suit still has the option to attach giant power fists to it. So yes, you can punch things. And you can also, if you look at the Wraith diagram again, illustration, you can see that, you also carry a big sword spear, right? It's a hybrid sword spear. And so, yeah, the light frame is specialized in, or not, I shouldn't say specialized, can be tailored for melee combat. So yeah, they move fast and they hit hard for melee. They get in and out. All right, Zingo asks, who's gonna animate my Felly's tail in twerking animations? Only the finest twerking animators. Zingo, only the finest tail twitching animators shall work on that. I won't anybody, no, I won't let any lesser animator at those specific areas. Only the best.
Also, the motion capture will be locally sourced.
That's ominous. No, so we're gonna have a separate funding round to go to some clubs and pick out the best people in mocap. That's what we're gonna do. Nobody does that anymore. Everything's virtual. Okay? What am I talking about? All right, Thorpe. When a player is defeated, does their mech explode and disappear, or does it become a dynamic repair or keep safe event? The current thought is that it explodes and disappears, and you're ejected from the mech, and you can run around, survive, and call down another mech. I didn't have any plans for a repair or a revive for a mech, although that's an interesting idea I hadn't thought about. So, never say never. We're still quite early in these sort of decisions, but right now they're expected to just explode and disappear, and you got to go call down a new one. The gameplay aspect of dynamic repair or defending it so it's not completely destroyed, it could be too big of a distraction if it was a defend the Hulk type of thing. We don't want to change the mission type. Dynamic repair or some sort of like engineering ability to bodge it so that it's at least in limp along mode or something. Maybe I have to think about that. But right now, just explode. All right, we are caught up on Discord questions. Oh yeah, I gotta light up the fist. What am I talking about? Yeah, you want melee punching? Here's a melee punch. Lightning fist. Power fist. All right. I said that we were gonna wrap up the chat with a big raffle, so I'd like to go and do that right now as a thank you for during the holidays for attending. And let's see, what pack are we gonna do here? What pack did we do last time, Ronan?
Ooh, oh, last time we did a big one. Oh man, was that a shifter?
I think we did a shifter.
I feel like it was a shifter.
Yep. Let's do this. Instead of a shifter, we're going to split it up. Let's do 2 Archon packs back to back. Oh, that's right. Gigabear upgraded it to a shifter. It wasn't a shifter.
Oh, there we go. That
Giga Bear,
makes
what
sense.
was it? An Archon. Okay. So let's keep it at an Archon level, but let's do 2 Archon packs. Let's raffle away 2 of those suckers.
Wow, 2 Archons. Okay. Okay. We'll give Faye a minute here to grab the proper images and whatnot. And I'll check and see if we got any new people who need to be shown how the thing works. No, looks like they've been here for a while. Okay, so people, now again, if you're over there on Twitch and you're not on Discord, I want you to jump over here for the raffle, because you can only enter the raffle if you're on this Discord. You can't do it from Twitch. So don't wait, get over here. This is your shot. Thank you, Jedi. There we go.
I take every question too seriously. I'm just re-looking at Twitch chat, Ronan. I'm looking at the can we punch Crotus in the junk and call it a Scrotus strike or something? And I'm like, I'm so serious. It's like I just walk into this. It's like I answer every question seriously, and I'm just laughing at myself. It's like I should really like roll with it more. I don't know. I have to develop a more of a humor detector along the way or something. Anyways, continue. Don't let me distract you.
In all
We can make
fairness,
it a hidden achievement.
I was going to say, in all fairness, it would be a pretty fun achievement.
Yeah, but his junk would be like a mile wide. It's like it wouldn't be very hard. Oh, ba-dum thump.
Okay. Phrasing.
Phrasing.
Junkosaurus Rex. That's terrible. All right, Faye, are we ready?
Yes, we are.
All right, let's do this raffle for the 2 Archons. So we're gonna do one at a time, guys. We're gonna do Archon and then another Archon after. During the first one, I'll explain what comes in it after Faye throws it up here with the image. Okay, take it away.
We agreed we weren't going to phrase it that way anymore.
Dang it.
I mean, I haven't had lunch yet.
All right, Archon pack, normally a $299.95 value. It comes with a max variant of the unique dropship. Only Archon and shifter pack and shifters and arc leagues. Basically, the big boys get that one. You get a max dropship. It comes in orange, purple, and chroma. You get the bad backer decal. You can basically put this cool decal on your vehicles, your frames, and you can spray it on things. You get 2 test builds and 2 playable mockups. That means you can actually send something to your friend there to be like, come play this. And you get 2 copies of the final game when it releases. You get a Razor Chroma Founder dropship skin. I like the chroma stuff because it's got all the lights and things. You get 3D printed files for the kaiju model, one of the kaijus, of course. You get to reserve your character name for in the game. You get a forum ribbon that lets everybody on the forum know that you're an Archon.
Wait,
You
a
get
form ribbit?
Ribbit, yes. Forum ribbon, a forum ribbon.
And a new Ember meme is born.
Oh, great. I'm going to get so many messages. Yeah, my forum ribbit is wrong. That's the wrong one. Okay, so you get the Razor Chroma Founder G Suit version 2 player skin. Comes in a way where it works for male and female versions of the character. You get a Founder dropship. That's a unique model. That's the blue and yellow one. You get a Founder G Suit version 2, also for male and female. You get the carbon fiber Omniframe skins for light, medium, or heavy. You get a forum tag. You get put on the Founder's wall, and you get access to the PDF design book. Forum ribbit.
We were due for another one. It's good.
It's been a while. Yeah. All right, Faye, let them have it.
All right. Everybody ready? On your mark. Get set. Click.
Like holding our breath for this. Like, what's gonna happen? And the winner is Ethelis. Congratulations, Ethelis.
Oh, wow. And just joined the Discord, too. Congratulations.
Holy smokes! Congrats.
Talk about good luck. That's how you do it. Dragon Overlord, you want me to take a breath now? I'm gonna do entire paragraphs and pages of a book in one breath. That's how I talk. All right, we're about to do the next one. Right? Ethelis comes in, jumps ahead of a lot of people's packs. I guess you're all gonna have to upgrade. Now, Ethelis, since you're brand new, you may not be on the myember.com site yet. So make sure you sign up for that because you're gonna need it to get your prize. All right, Faye, let's do the next one.
All right. Ready, set, go. Only click on the pencil and paper emoji. Anybody else is making it trollish. And you won't win. Don't get distracted by the felly.
And the winner is Kavas Master. Congratulations.
Oh my gosh! Congrats.
Guys, remember, these are Archon packs. These are big ones, all right? There's a lot of stuff that comes with it. Get in there, check it out. And if you're not already, I expect to see you playing the build pretty soon here. Check it out.
Yep. Remember, the build is in white box phase. All of the new art that you see here is not in the build because we just went with cubes to let people know it's temporary.
Cubes.
It's the cube build. But all the movement in there, all the abilities, weapons, and such like that. All right, everybody. There is no other Chief Chat this week. We will be back next Thursday with another big raffle, and we're going to go move it up to a shifter next time. So come back next week, next Thursday, where we'll be raffling away a shifter pack. Remember that all packs are... Cape Lean Cute Meister. Speaking of the build, any ETA on a fixed rate, I keep getting connection timeout. That's a new one. Are the servers still down?
The connection timeout is for logging in server things.
Okay. Is it currently down? We'll check on that. We'll check on that right after cabling. Thank you very much for pointing that out. Yeah, we want to make sure that's up and running. All right. Business stuff. Thanks everyone for our Cyber Monday Chief Chat. We gave away 2 Archon packs. We talked Q&A, a lot of details about the planned game. And reminder that packs and upgrades are 30% off today only. Today only. And $1 for the Wraith skin, which is the new House Wraith skin. If I can put it up here. So you definitely want to take advantage of that if you can. And thanks to Dita40K for the wonderful, wonderful Omniframe VTuber avatar. I have legs, and thank you for the legs. I can now walk. Well, I can't walk, but I have legs, and you can look at my legs. And thank you, community, for a fun time and the new memes, Form, Ribbits, and Scrotus. Yes, those 2 are sticking in my head. Legs for Maid Grums soon, says Rachel. Yeah, maybe it'll happen one day. I don't know if Dita4OK is going to be able to do a skin every month. It was a gift. It was like a surprise, I should say. That I didn't know what he was working on. He just kept asking me, "What's your favorite color for this?" and all this stuff. So I just love how it came out with the
Mauve.
with the fist and the wings and things like that. It's actually and then I can turn it off like that. And I love how the Ember logo has the little rotating chambers in the logo. Thigh highs. So you want to see Maid Grum's thigh highs. I understand. Yes, I understand. Toshi will never come back on stream. All right, everybody. I had a great time today. It's been really relaxing, actually. I really enjoyed this Chief Chat. Thank you all so much for attending. Thank you, community team, for being here on a Monday. Very special exception to our regular schedule. And congratulations, winners, once again. And we will be raffling off a shifter pack next week. Next Thursday, we resume the regular bat time, regular bat channel. All right. Thank you very much. And we will see you next week. Cheers.